Hello, testing, testing. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. I'm just checking to see that I am. Okay, great. Oh, hello, Matt. Great, you guys can see me. You can hear and see me, so that is perfect. I'm gonna wait for a few people to get on here because I just logged on. So I want to make sure, and at the same time, I'm going to be pulling up questions. So any questions that you have, please feel free to ask during this stream. And I asked on my Instagram. These lives are very spontaneous. I just kind of randomly do them. Hi Armand, how are you? So I don't go very often. My first time going live was a few days ago, and I thought that it was very helpful for you because I was able to answer so many questions. Ooh, hello. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Ishtar, is that correct? You are a student of mine, so welcome. It's great to see you on here on the live. So, okay, great. And by the way, I attached a free guide down below. It's to help you with product research. It's to basically help you put in certain parameters when you're searching for products inside Viral Launch, Helium 10, Jungle Scout, whatever you're using. And you put them in and you can kind of try different parameters and see if you are able to diversify your product research, because I know sometimes if we just see things from our perspective, you can start to see the same items, but I gave kind of a few guidelines down there. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up some questions like I said, and if you have any, just ask them down here below. So one of them was, okay, do you swear by 3D rendering images as your main image? And I talk about this a lot in my FBA program. Rendering is basically having a graphic artist take your product and redesign it in a very high quality format. I know a lot of people go after product photography and they get their images done professionally. They send off their image to a professional photographer. Say you are, I don't know, selling this box of markers, and then you ship this off and they photograph it at different angles and send you the final images with some touch-ups. However, if you find a talented graphics artist, which I suggest you do, you are able to have him not take photos, but he could potentially use existing photos that are already available of those markers anywhere on Amazon, anywhere from your suppliers, and he can render them more professionally, and it will look so much better than a photo. Because I don't know, in my opinion, graphics just always look so much better than actual photography, and I totally endorse this. And they can do so many changes too. They can add your logo on it. They can even render your package. So you have a product package, and I don't know, no one talks about this. This is why I feel like it's seriously a hack. Like, it's literally a hack, because people just send in their photos, they get them done. It takes so much more time. It's so much more expensive. But if you render it, honestly, you can have them position it in any way that you want, and it just looks so much higher quality. But the issue is you can't have it look too fake. So you can't have it look like very, very photoshopped. Otherwise, Amazon doesn't like that and they can take your photo down. They want an actual photo, but they just use such a good example that you can never even really tell. So I always suggest with rendering, and also you can use like stock images and kind of alter them a little bit too if you have a talented artist. So that's just a really great tip for product photography. And if you watch any of my videos about listings and photos, and if you're in my program, then you know how much I stress product photography and images, because that's the first thing your customer sees, is the main image. So you really have to make sure that it's really, really high quality, that it conveys your product, and then the rest of photos after that have to convey things about your product as well, such as what features it has and how it stands out better than your competitors, especially with infographics. Infographics are very, very important. So it's just having your photo and then adding kind of annotations to it on how it stands out. And you really want to cover the most important things. So say your competitors, everyone has a certain feature that they're including in their product, and that's kind of a highlight feature for buying this product. You want to make sure that you highlight that you have this, and any negatives about your product, you also want to deter that. So that's a very, very important thing too. Okay, next question is, how much money did you invest in your first product? Okay, so I also teach Amazon FBA with the lowest risk possible. So when I began, I started 2 products at the same time. The first one I was launching, I thought was going to do really, really well. And I made the mistake of ordering too many units, and that was kind of an issue because I did invest a lot more money into it. I believe I invested around $3,000 into my very first product, which did not do so great because it was an oversaturated market. And I ordered way too high of an MOQ. My second product that I did, the cost of production and the shipping, I would say maybe was slightly lower by around maybe $2, $1.50. So it wasn't too much of a difference on the actual price of the actual product, but the shipping was slightly less expensive. And then I ordered a significantly lower MOQ amount. So the first product I ordered 500, which I don't even suggest that people, like my course students know that I don't suggest ordering large MOQs, especially if you are going into markets that I teach about, which are the lower competition markets that you can successfully launch your product with PPC. And if you if you order a lower MOQ in that, that's fine because you can still launch your product without running out of stock. And then when you see traction and that the product is actually selling well, then you can order more units. But if you are just ordering crazy amounts of units and your product actually doesn't do well, then you're going to be stuck with so many units. And that's what happened to me. Fortunately for me, my Amazon product actually got lost in Amazon, so they had to reimburse me for it. So that was an interesting thing that happened. But yeah, smaller units is great. The second product where I was going with that was less of an investment, and it proved to be successful, and I launched it completely with PPC, with getting organic sales, no manipulation, no giveaways. So those are the markets that I really advocate for. Plus those types of markets tend to be more stable. So if you're going into something that's kind of very hyped up, say a trend or a seasonal item that everyone else is jumping on, you might get a lot of really, really high sales for the first month, even two to 3 months, but then it's going to die out. So I actually knew somebody who launched like pollution masks, which is such an easy product to do. It was literally just a mask that you put on with like a filter, and they were doing really well. But that literally only lasted for 2 months, and I remember when I first was beginning, and I was thinking, wow, that's such a great like situation that happened, because they're making their revenue was 20K a month just from one product, and I thought that was so great. But that literally died away after 2 months because the market got really oversaturated. It was such an easy product that everybody was jumping onto it, and there was literally no differentiation in it whatsoever. The reviews were low, the market was turning over every couple of weeks or even like every half a week, and there was a lot of nasty sellers. So that product did not sustain. But if you go into products that are, you can differentiate, you can bundle them, you can make them better, then that's going to be very sustainable, and you can literally carry that on for years and years. And those are the types of products that I want you to go into, obviously, and at the same time do that with a low MOQ, because those products are the ones you differentiate. So when you launch them with PPC, it's really easy to tell if it's going to do well or not. Am I doing anything fun for Thanksgiving? I don't know what is fun. I'm probably going to work on Thanksgiving too and spend time with loved ones. That's usually the plan, but working is considered fun to me. 2 days in a row. Nice. Yes. Well, every other day. So I went live the day before yesterday, and it was really fun. So I'm doing it again. Just saw this and didn't want to miss. What's the Q&A about? Oh, hello, Hassan. I'm answering questions that anyone that has questions here, and anybody that has questions on my Instagram as well. So last time I did a live, I also kind of went into a little bit of product research. If you're curious, you can check that out. Yeah, let me pull up the questions again. Okay, someone's asked, is it smart to go into a product that has a small amount of results on Amazon, like 100 to 300? I'm not sure what the 100 or 300 means, I'm assuming that could mean either search term volume for one keyword or 100 to 300 competitors. If it's that many competitors, you don't really want to evaluate on how many competitors there are. You want to really focus on the market as a whole, which means the people on the first page specifically of Amazon, and if you can find a gap in the market and penetrate. There are products, like, you definitely don't want to go into the high search volume keywords, especially if it's in like the 6 figures. So if it's like 100,000, even when it gets above like 40,000 searches, I notice that the markets get quite competitive. And sometimes words and markets with like very low searches, example like 3,000 search volume, do really well. But again, you don't really know based off of a number. You just kind of assume based on the numbers that what I mean is, you don't assume based off of the keyword search volume. You want to assume kind of how the market is doing as a whole. So if it has even 1,000 searches a month and you think that's low because you're comparing it to something that's 100,000 searches, really do the drop down menu. If you're using Helium 10 or Viral Launch or whatever you're using, drop that menu down and analyze the entire market. So if all the sellers are doing well, then clearly the search volume is converting really well on sales. Maybe it's just a higher converting volume word. So you really just like the pure data is the first page of Amazon. If everyone is doing well consistently throughout the year, if it's not a seasonal item, clearly something good is going on. Okay. But as far as the actual, if the keyword is 100 to 300 words, if we're basing it off this question specifically, from my personal experience, that's a little bit too low. Unless it's very possible, if you see a word with that low searches a month, but it's still getting good sales, you are probably not analyzing the product for the main keyword. So what you want to do is go and type in the word that you think is the main keyword into whatever software you're using, if it's Viral Launch, Jungle Scout, Helium 10, and then organize the words from highest to lowest, and then that's going to give you the most search for words for that product. So if it's starting out, of course you want to ignore the broad words. If it's like something really general like school supplies or office supplies, you want to find the first word that has the most searches for the most. If you open that word up in Amazon, it's going to be the product that you typed in basically on the first page. So that's kind of how you do that. And you always want to analyze markets for the main keyword, because if you don't, you can make a really big mistake and you can launch your product for the wrong word and just not have an accurate representation of the whole market. Okay, we got a lot of questions. Let me go back up. Do I like the Cybertruck? That's funny. I'm assuming you're talking about the Tesla one. I personally wouldn't. The design is interesting. I personally wouldn't kind of buy it, but it's actually growing on me a little bit. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was aesthetically pleasing, but now that I kind of look at it, it's kind of cool because it's unique. So I don't know. Okay, would you enter a competitive market under $20 even though your product with great improvements and differentiated for the rest? Yes, I would, and that depends on your margins, right? So I can sit here and give you numbers all day long. For example, launch a product that's doing $20 and over. And yes, while it's true that premium items with higher prices typically have higher profit margins, that doesn't necessarily mean write off all other products. Say you found a product that's doing you can sell it for $14 a month, but to manufacture it is like $2 or $3, and then shipping is an extra dollar. FBA fees are really low because it's light and small. And after that, say your profit margin is good, like $7, then of course I would still do it. You don't ever want to just look at the numbers. You want to logically think about it. So if you put a product into the Amazon FBA revenue calculator and you see that it's, let's say, I don't know, people say profit margins, right? So if you see that it's like 30% profit margin, which sounds great, like that's the typical one you should aim for, but the dollar amount is $3, then that's really, really small. You're not going to have much room with PPC or anything. But if you put that in and say your profit margin, like percentage, is lower than that, but the dollar amount is say like $7, which I think $7 is probably the minimum you should aim for, depending on the velocity of how much the product is selling and the PPC, of course, because that gives you enough room to, remember, when you put things in the FBA calculator, that doesn't account for PPC. That's just landed cost. So that's after FBA fees, after which is the percentage of the price, and also the shipping fees, and plus your shipping costs and the product cost. So that's not including PPC or any type of reoccurring money you're gonna have to spend. And of course, if you do things the way I teach, I always teach to continue PPC indefinitely, because you get a lot of sales, plus it helps your bestseller rank overall organically. So you want to give yourself that extra cushion that you can invest money in PPC and at the same time have profit. So you want profits in your pocket, plus you want PPC. And for me, $7 is a great dollar amount. However, it's all relative. If it's lower than that, but PPC is less expensive, go for it. You just have to make sure that there is profit in there. And the most important thing you mentioned is about improving and differentiating. You always want to improve and differentiate. That's for sure. Of course, it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. You don't have to invent a new mold or do something crazy. Differentiating can be studying the market really well and seeing what the product lacks and improving on that, incorporating into your product, and making sure whichever way you can, whether it's by photos or just a different graphic, that your customers are aware that you differentiated this product, and that's why it stands out. But you do want to stand out in a positive way, and that's why that's how you're going to get ahead. But the other part of your question, a competitive market, I would not enter a competitive market. And I guess that's all relative. I'm not sure what you mean by competitive, but I mean, I have videos about product research, what's a competitive product, what's not. And I just typically avoid competitive markets just because I tried it. And if you have a lot of capital to invest, you can do well with a competitive market, but you're going to have to pay a pretty price to match those sales velocity of everyone else on the first page, because the only way you're going to get to the first page by Amazon's algorithm is if you match the sales of the first page products, right? And if they're really high, you won't be able to match them with just PPC. You're going to have to do some type of giveaways or even full price giveaways, and with that, it's going to be very expensive. So and you have to have the right strategy for it. So the safer, more conservative way to do it is not to go into competitive markets. Okay, let's see. How would you recommend launching your first product? I recommend launching the first product with PPC, granted that you found a product in a less competitive market. If you're going into something aggressive with higher reviews and higher sales, launching with PPC will be very expensive, because the PPC is expensive for the certain keywords. Plus, it's, like I mentioned before, it's going to be really hard to match the sales of those people. Am I excited for Star Wars 9? No, because I don't watch Star Wars. I don't even think I ever watched the one full movie in full. So, yes. Okay. How much money do I need to start on my first inventory on Amazon FBA after New Year's? I hope $4,000 is enough to start doing with PPC ad campaign. Yes, $4,000 is actually more than enough in my opinion, and the way I teach, all my students is, again, low risk. 4,000 is a great number. And you don't need to have a lot of investments. I have a video on my channel for anyone that's interested. I have a playlist about FBA costs, and I break down how much FBA would cost if you're starting your first product. But you can order a small MOQ, launch it with PPC, and $4,000, depending on the product, I think is more than enough, and that's great. And you can probably even do 2 products with that, in my opinion. And I would do 2 products. I personally, even till this day, I don't like pumping in crazy amounts of money into new products that I never tested. I know people have different strategies, and some people literally like ordering like 5,000 units right off the bat and going aggressive, but I just don't think that's feasible and a good way to go about it. Especially, it's not really replicatable within everyone I'm trying to teach. Not everybody has that amount of money that they can just invest into products and hope for the best, right? There you have to give yourself room for mistakes. And I think that diversifying your amount of money into smaller MOQs and different products that are like sustainable but not competitive is a good way to start. So you will, that $4,000 is great. And then also keep in mind that PPC costs, although in the beginning they are more higher because of ACOS and you really optimizing, but with time you optimize it and they actually bring you in sales. So that's great. Have you ever considered selling in Canada, France, etc.? Sell an item that's patented in the US. You know, I am all for selling in other markets, but US is the most it is more competitive because there are more sellers, but it has a much more opportunity. And with patents, I would really stay away just because there's no reason to do that. There are so many products that don't have patents that you can build your own brand. There's so much opportunity within the US marketplace, and also more people that are willing to buy. So you can launch them there, have your own brand, have your own patent if you need to. Plus patents, there has to be a very specific design for it to even be patented. But I really suggest I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how transferable the patents are. I know they're from country to country, but honestly, I wouldn't really want to take that risk and mess with the companies and get a risk of getting shut down. Maybe they have it patented in other countries as well that you're not aware of. Maybe they're a growing brand. It's just not a good, sustainable, long-term solution. If you do want to expand into other markets, then that's great. It's pretty much the same model applied to everything else, minus a few tweaks, such as how you're going to get the funds across and things like that. But as far as selling someone else's product and someone else's patent, I wouldn't suggest doing that. That's kind of the easy way out, and I would just stick with my own product. Okay, so I am getting a lot of questions. Let me do a little post on my Instagram too for anybody else. Just gonna get this on camera. Hello, I am live right now. Like I said I would be. Here are all of our amazing people asking questions. So if you have any questions, then join me right now on my YouTube. See you soon. Okay, just gonna post this for anyone else that wants to come on YouTube. Yes, hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday too, as I am. Okay, back to the questions. Okay, someone asked, is it true that if you team up with Amazon and leave links to products on Amazon, they will send a small percentage of the sales made with 24 hours of purchases made by the consumer that uses the link? I think you're talking about affiliates, and yes, anyone can really be an affiliate for Amazon. It's basically you can recommend products, say you like something, and I think a lot of bloggers do this on YouTube. They find an item they like or whatever they're using, and they just post the affiliate link, so you get a small percentage. I believe it's 7% on every sale that you make. So that's kind of more of that. I've never done that. I don't do that. I sell my own products, which is what you should be doing in private label. Do you like Legos? I used to, yeah, but Legos no longer has their patent. Patents expire after 20 years, so now you will probably notice many different types of Legos that aren't really Legos. All these companies branching out. I want to do Air DDP. Christmas is around the corner. $1,000 more. Unit is 1.8 pounds. Okay, so yeah, that's really tricky. So Air DDP is by far the easiest and fastest shipping method, but also I don't know how many units you have. So if you compare that to, let's say, CDDP, if your C is like $600 or $800, for $400 or even $500, maybe that's not even too much for you to invest into it. It really depends on how many units, but and how significant the difference is. I know one of my products, when I launched it, I wanted to get it in there as soon as possible, so I did Air DDP, and it really cut into my profit margins. But after that, I was testing it, so I was I was still profitable, right? But then CDDP was significantly cheaper. I mean, it's not even a joke. I think it was probably 60% cheaper, or 60 or 70% cheaper. So since then I started doing CDDP, and you can imagine how much more profit margin I had to kind of reinvest back into PPC and to things like that, which could increase my sales from there. So really calculate that. Is that 1,000? What is that in comparison to CDDP? I mean, if it's a few $100s, might as well just do Air DDP and get it in and just get the ball rolling with the reviews and the sales. But if it's a significant amount, oh, you just said 1,000 more. Okay, yeah, it just calculate that based on unit cost and how much your profits are. So if you're still profitable with Air DDP, maybe you should do it. And maybe here's another trick, Ishar. Why don't you send in a portion of your units with Air DDP and then the rest with CDDP? So like, say you have like 300 units, why don't you even send like 50 or 80 of them, if you're trying to be more conservative, send those in with Air DDP and then do the rest with CDDP. So when you're beginning to kind of launch your product and get those reviews and PPC sales going, your C shipment is on its way. So that's a good thing you could try doing. Okay, let's see. Should I put money into business and not take profit for about 2 to 3 months just so it could grow? This is definitely all personal opinion and kind of what your goals are, right? So when you're seeing a return on your business, of course, taking a profit is great and you need to pay the bills somehow and give yourself a little reward, but reinvesting into the business is also pretty much the only way you're going to grow and the only way you're going to scale, unless you are trying to use money from other income sources. But just kind of have a fine balance, right? So do you need to pay yourself? Is it like absolutely necessary? Do you need this money to pay the bills? Or is it just kind of something you're doing to reward yourself? You can delay instant gratification and then just reinvest it into your business and then have that grow. And then when that grows even more, then you can start pinching a few back. But ultimately, reinvesting into your business is what's going to help you pay for more inventory and launch more products, which you can scale faster. And then you can probably pay yourself. But if it is a necessity, then maybe you can pinch some to pay yourself as well. Okay. Did I do sports in high school? I was very active my whole life. As far as sports in high school, not really. I did sports growing up, different type of things like taekwondo, cheerleading, dances, things like that. And in high school, I would exercise a lot, so I would run outside my house, and even after high school, I've always been very active. So I like to go to the gym and kind of run and do things like that. But I'm always physically active, and I think like mental health and physical health and like your sleep, what you eat, how you exercise, your mentality, everything, that's very, very important. So I stay up to date on that and exercise very regularly, at least 5 days a week. So a follow-up question: in a market with people making 0 to 22,000 a month, with only 2 to 3 people in there making 20K plus, is that a competitive market? So that's great. That's not too bad. I think you have to look at the reviews as well. So what are the reviews of people, and how are the rest, let's say top 10 sellers doing? Are those the only 3 sellers that are making good money, or is everyone else making good money too? So you want to look at about the top 10 positions, and if everybody in there is doing at least $5,000, well, minus 1 or 2, maybe 8 out of the 10 are doing, or 7 out of 10, that's fine too, doing at least 5,000, and then everyone else is kind of in that stable ground. So let's say everyone is doing around 10,000, give or take a few thousand. Like one person's doing 5,000, someone else is doing 9, someone's doing 20, and they have relatively low reviews. For example, a few people, like at least 3, have under 100 reviews on the lower end and haven't been launched for too long. You have to look at all the factors, by the way. And I in my last live, I have a product validation sheet. You can go and download it too. My last, which was 2 days ago, so not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. And you can kind of go through all the steps of validating a product. But you definitely want a market that's stable and more than just 3 sellers. If it's just 3 sellers that are doing well, that's probably a red flag. Maybe it's patented. maybe why is there only 3 sellers? That means it's not a stable market, right? You want to make sure that most of the first page is stable, so you know that when you get on there, you're also going to be profitable, and that it's not just some anomaly that those 3 people are doing well and you're not, you're not going to do well, right? You just want to avoid the risk as much as possible. Okay, let's see. When do you know if it's a good time to take a risk? All the time. It's all a risk. This whole business model is a risk, but there's ways you can go to obviously minimize the risk, such as doing all the research, validating your product, really studying the market. And I really want to emphasize this for you, and especially, hold on, I missed the question. Like, Sarah45 her. It's a really good question with the market competition, because people don't teach really market analysis as much, and it's very, very important. You can't just look at one product. You can't just look at the numbers even on the first page of Amazon. You really have to dive deep and analyze the market. You have to read all the reviews, see how many reviews there are, check their bestseller rank for the duration that they were launched, the whole entire year, whenever. See if it's a seasonal item. Basically identify why are the sales coming in, why are they coming in higher for these specific sellers, why are they lower for the rest of the sellers. That's really important. That's what's really going to kind of give you a better idea of the market as a whole, and knowing if you can penetrate the market, even though it is a risk, because you never know until you fully start selling on Amazon if your product is going to sell. You won't know until it's literally in your Amazon account selling and you're running PPC and you try to make improvements. That's the only way you're ever going to know. So it's always a risk. It's never guaranteed. But if you have the right tools, and if you do your due diligence and actually invest into learning and studying the markets, then your risk is highly, highly minimized. And if your product does hit road bumps or doesn't do well, then you can identify what you did wrong and then not repeat the same mistakes in the next product. Okay, I'm not catching up with these questions. I need to chop it up. When looking at a bundle item, is there a guideline on how much that bundle item should cost? So with bundle items, first off, you always want to make sure that you're bundling it correctly. You don't want to just put something random or something that you think is a good bundle based on your opinion. You want to look at the frequently bought together section and see what people are buying together. And you want to make sure that the bundle item doesn't actually cost more or even the same price as your original item, because at that point, it's not really a bundle. It's the customer may think they're buying 2 items at the same time that they don't and they might think they're paying extra for an item that they may not necessarily want or need. And at the same time, they won't really know what item they're buying is if they're close to the same price. You want the bundle item to be almost like a freebie. So I mean, I don't even know how, like, what's, so if you're, again, look, these markers, right, like say they cost $15 and then the eraser itself costs like $5 separately. If you bundle them together, you can raise the price of this by like even $2. But to you, the eraser costs 50 cents. But the eraser is kind of really necessary if you go with the product, and you can say free eraser, and your product together isn't much expensive than everyone else. Maybe it's the same price. Like say it's selling for like $17, maybe you sell it for 17 or try to push it and go 18, 19, but people see that more of a advantage and like, oh cool, I'm getting this free thing. But you don't want to bundle this with like a whiteboard or another set of markers, because then they might say, okay, I don't need all this stuff, I'm going to go for the lower price item. So you want to find that fine balance of making, like, letting the customer believe they're getting something for free and they're just getting a good deal. The whole point is like value. How much value you're adding to them, how much they think they're benefiting from it. Do you like using Google Calendar to be more effective? I use, for all my like mentorship calls I do with my students and not students, like, and people who apply with the application process, and any meetings I have, it's all scheduled on my like Apple Calendar, you know, the little calendar thing right here. So that's helpful. And then I use Google Sheets to coordinate with like my staff of, like, for example, the YouTube content that I post daily has a sheet, and we kind of communicate through there, and we communicate through WeChat, which is I know it's like a Chinese app, but it's very convenient. So that's kind of what I do for scheduling. Do I like running? Yes, I do. Okay. How do I come up with selling products? Would it be okay to buy a product and wait for it to retire from shelves and sell it as a third party? So that's different. That's more kind of could be considered retail arbitrage or like wholesale if you're getting it from suppliers. I don't teach any of those. I teach private label, which is finding products that are in the right markets. That if you don't know what FBA is, right? So it's, you want markets that are not competitive but have demand and need improvement. So you improve, you launch to the first page, and it's essentially 100% your own brand. So it gives you full rights to it. You can expand it outside of Amazon onto your own platform. You can later sell the brand. So you definitely have so much more flexibility and ownership of that. So that's why I like the FBA business model. So there's just so many different directions you can take it. Okay, how many questions am I missing up? And do you listen to Dave Ramsey? I think I listened to a few of his podcasts before, but maybe one or two. Not too much though. Let's see. How much has your FBA grown since Helium 10 interview? Oh, you listened to the Helium 10 interview. Hello. Virgil, I opened up since that time. I believe I did not have another Amazon Seller Central account. So I opened a second Seller Central account, which I'm using to scale more, especially after this Q4 Chinese New Year, or before Chinese New Year. I have a lot of products in the works right now that I want to launch, and into that account specifically, because my first account was more branded and brand related, and my second one, I'm going to focus more on building brands within that, but having it be more diversified. So kind of going after products that are profitable, not necessarily within a specific brand, because I didn't want to intrude on the first brand, which is still expanding. It's just very centered toward one thing, and then the second account is going to be more different products that aren't super branded, just because I just enjoy the model so much. I really want to amp up the launches right before the Chinese New Year, which by the way is coming up at the end of January, beginning of February. So you have about 2 months, people, 2 months to chop, do the research, do the launches, start to get those products into the sky or to the air, into the Amazon warehouse. Are you monetized? Just wondering, since the super chat is not on. What is super chat? Why is that not on? Does it need to be on? I don't know what super chat is. Okay, and oh yes, and my videos are monetized because I have enough subs and views now, so yes. What is the best strategy to get onto the first page? I answered it before, and that is of course, there's many strategies to get to the first page, but if you're doing things low risk and if you want actual customer data, the best strategy is PPC, because you are actually getting organic sales, organic feedback. So if you launch with any other way, like for example, the past way to launch was basically with giveaways, which is giving away really heavy discounted items. But if you do it that way, you're not really getting customer feedback as much. You don't really know what's selling well, because you're just giving things away for free, and literally everyone takes things for free. But if you are launching with PPC, you're getting back actual data, because the people buying your product with PPC don't have an incentive to buy it, other than the fact that they actually want to buy it. It's a full price sale. So you're doing it with PPC. If people are clicking, and in your reports will say this all in PPC, which I teach in my program. And by the way, some of you asked about discounts in the last live. I want to extend it to everyone who's watching here. If you send me a message in my Instagram, if you've watched this live, if you enter the code 300 off in my program, you will get $300 off for the next 24 hours. So tomorrow, I guess by the time this live ends, which will be in the next 15 minutes. So by 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, I will discount the course by $300, and you have to just enter the code 300 off, and then you can get the course discounted just because you've literally been here on this live for the past 40 minutes, and that's awesome, on a Sunday night asking questions with me. So that's awesome. Okay, great. Okay, so Hassan, I hope that answers your question. I prefer PPC because you actually get data. Oh, I'm like so mind scattered right now. If you're looking at your PPC reports, it will tell you the impressions and the clicks. So if you're getting a lot of impressions, but people are clicking into your product and not buying, and you're launching with PPC, then that automatically tells you something's wrong with your product, or maybe your offer is not strong enough, maybe you don't have enough reviews, maybe you don't have a great first picture. So you can start making tweaks from there, but that's actual feedback. Because imagine using the giveaway strategy, launching your product to the first page, and then after realizing, oh, okay, so I'm on the first page because those are fake inflated sales, but now no one's actually buying, but you don't know why because you don't have a report to go off of. So that's just a really risky way to do it. And the downside is too that you've already invested all this money with giveaways and everything, that now you're basically burned through more than half of your inventory, and now what are you gonna do? So yeah. Oh, I like your jacket. Thank you. It's my sporty jacket. How effective is using Instagram influencers for Amazon FBA? It's not necessary. If you have to use influencers, then you are probably not in the right market, because the whole reason of doing Amazon FBA is that you are trying to capitalize on all of the Prime members and all of the sellers, all of the customers, that are trying to look for that product. So there's no way to do that. And no reason. If you have like your own thing, or Shopify or whatever, which I really do not like the Shopify business model. I don't like drop shipping. I'm like not for that at all. I think Amazon FBA is more sustainable. It's more honest. It's better customer service. People don't have to wait like 3 weeks to get a drop ship product. I know a lot of drop shippers use Instagram influencers for that, but I personally, Amazon's better, and there's no reason to use influencers. Okay. BSR giveaways in 8 days, differentiation too. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, for studying the market. Yes, exactly. So you want to, yes, that's exactly what you want to do. The BSR will tell you, the lower the better, of course. The giveaways in 8 days based on Helium 10 will let you know about how, divide that number by 8. It will give you an estimate of how many units are being sold a day. So that will kind of give you an estimate of how many sales you want to match, and differentiation, of course, always helps you. Did you see CoffeeZilla's last vid on Amazon FBA? He said the business model isn't very profitable at all. Yes, I saw the video, and I think the point he was trying to make is that people really overhype the model and make it look like it's a get rich quick thing, which is not, and I've never said it was. And I do agree to a certain extent. People hype it up like it's so easy and you can put anything on Amazon and have it be successful, but that's not the case. The case is there are strategies to make this work, and that you do need an investment, although not a crazy investment. And if you do risk analysis and you really study the right markets, and find a product based on, what I teach, for example, in my program, then you have a higher chance of succeeding. But if you're just launching anything and hoping that just by not doing anything, you're going to make millions of dollars, that is not true whatsoever. You just have to be realistic and, do the calculations. This is how much I have to invest. These are the products I'm looking for. And this business model 100%, 1,000,000% works. You just have to put in the effort. You have to put in the knowledge. And I totally endorse programs. I still to this day take courses and take programs. I have absolutely nothing against programs. Okay, I lost questions. Okay. How many does someone need to order on their first inventory? If you are talking about investment into Amazon FBA, I would say under $2,000 you should be fine. And also it really depends on the capital you have and the type of product. So if you want to order higher MOQs, which is unnecessary, if you find the right markets, you will need more money. And also, wow, I lost my train of thought. I've been talking for way too long. I'll get back to you. I literally was going to say something. How much money? I have a video, so look that up. Okay, this is what I was gonna say. If you have a lower budget, you can still do well. You just need to find products that are more in the budget. So obviously you can't, if you want to air DDP something that's heavy, you won't have the budget for that, right? If you're trying to match like hundreds of sellers on the top page, you're not going to be able to do that because you can't match that sales velocity. But if you're going for more conservative markets and say lighter objects, things like that, then you can definitely start with a lower MOQ and lower investment. So, hey James, everybody hit the like. I agree. Let's hit the like button. How much money do I need for PPC? When's the best time to stop? To stop, never. And how much money do you need? It really depends on your budget. You can start low. Again, it all depends on the market you are looking for. So if you are, start with like a $10 auto campaign, maybe $30 manual campaign, something like that. Maybe like $20 to $40 a day, I think is good when you're first beginning. And again, sometimes you won't run through the full budget, and it's how quickly you want the data too, because if you spend less money, you can get the data, it will just be slower, and your product will rank. If it's low to medium competition, it will just take slower. So it's all kind of a testing thing too, because each market has different PPC not caps, but like bids. So you just kind of want to make sure that you're getting impressions and make sure you're bidding enough on the single words, and that you're not running out of budget if you are actually making sales and profitable, because then you're just losing money. Do I like doing keyword research to find products in Helium 10 or product searching? I actually do. I enjoy product research. I enjoy researching a market to see if it's profitable and how I can improve on it. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I do product research and I do keyword research all the time with each product. You want to do both to really study the market. How do you find good suppliers? I have a video on this on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist actually, and in my program, of course, I have an entire module talking about this. But basically, it's the number one advice I could give is just focusing on really good communication between you and the suppliers. So if they're not responding to you in a very long time or not answering all your questions, they're probably not a good supplier, and they probably won't answer them when the time is important. In Black Box, yes, I also use Helium 10 Black Box. Whatever tool you're using, whether it's Jungle Scout, Fire Launch, you can. They have similar ones. Oh, I see. No, I don't have Super Chat. I do not want you to do, because Super Chat is where we can donate money to you when you are live. I do not want you to donate money to me. So use that for your Amazon products. Okay, so you're getting pretty seasoned with the product development pipeline. How long is it taking you now to take an opportunity from research to land it and launch? I will tell you that I like to expedite this process as much as possible. So I will literally, and I'm not saying do this, but for me, I like to even do air DDP, even if I am at break-even price, just because I want to see as fast as possible if that product is a winner or not. So I'm trying to get it into the warehouse as soon as possible. And if the suppliers that have a shorter lead time for me also take priority. If someone gives me a 30-day lead time and a different supplier gives me a 2-week lead time, I will go with the 2-week lead supplier, granted of course that they are a good supplier and they have good quality products. But it's hard to answer that question because every product is different. Some products do literally have a month lead time to produce, and there's literally nothing you can do about it because they have to make them from scratch and so many moving parts. And if you have a package that takes an extra at least 10 days, 7 to 10 days for a package. So it really depends on the shipping method you take. Obviously, if your lead time is 30 days and shipping is 30 days, that's 2 months. That's really long for me, but some products just have that. So like I mentioned earlier, if you want to expedite part of your units to do air shipping, even if you will be at a break even, but then the rest come in later versus C, you can kind of spread your budget in that way. Okay. Does someone need a course to be successful? Well, I don't think someone needs a course to be successful. Success is really majority based on you and the action you take and how serious you are. But I do 100% believe that a course or program can minimize the amount of time it takes to get you to success, and also the amount of mistakes you're going to make. I knew that if I did not take courses when I began this journey, I would be totally probably lost a lot of money. And I know this is exactly how I know this, because I was just watching YouTube videos and I found 2 products okay, that I thought were great. I knew nothing about FBA at that point, just a few YouTube videos, not a few, but I binge watched, I would say. And I was literally negotiating with suppliers for these products. I'm just the type of person that when I find out something that works and looks great, I just go and take action on it. And I'm just like, I need to do this now. And then thankfully I didn't. Then I took courses and I did more research, and I was thinking, thank goodness I didn't launch those products, because they are literally super competitive and I would have failed, and it would have been a waste of inventory. And I would have caught on if I didn't take a program. Of course, I would have caught on when I didn't see the sales, and then I would have had to analyze what I did wrong, how I can improve. It's just a longer journey if you don't have someone guiding you. And I just think, like, I know for a fact that the money you invest into a program will just save you that much in mistakes. Plus, like, I try to have the most value I possibly can. So it's always updating. Any tricks I learned, I always incorporate them. And I include all my templates, which save so much time in negotiating with suppliers and really getting the best deal. So that alone will literally pay for the program itself. So for sure. Okay. Should I tell supplier all my customizations before I get a first sample to see the quality of the product, or should I order one sample to determine their quality before asking to add any customizations? Usually they can't do a customization for you unless you're ordering a large MOQ, so that's one thing. By the way, I'm gonna wrap this up in like 5 minutes. I think I've been on here for quite some time, and I'm just gonna try to go through these questions really, really fast. So, because otherwise I feel like we're gonna be here for quite a long time. Okay, so an hour is pretty good to be on here. So like I said, they can't customize it unless you order a large MOQ. And samples, if you're ordering a very complicated product that has a lot of moving parts, yeah, you go with a sample. But honestly, if it's a very simple product that there's like no way you can mess it up, a sample is not always necessary, because that's an extra $100, and plus it's hard to mess it up. Sometimes you can just get a good photo, and just based on supplier trust and communication. I talk all about this in my program, but yeah, if it has a lot of moving parts, get a sample. But customization is not necessary, and they probably won't let you do it anyways unless you order literally 1,000 MOQ. That's how you can like do something to the product. Okay, Tessa's saying, I saw an email sent from Feedback Quiz. Inside Seller Central sent message that they're no longer being sent. Any word on this? I'm not exactly sure what you are asking. Was it Feedback Quiz sending you an email with updates, or was it inside Amazon? I haven't gotten any updates on that. I'll look into it. Maybe there are some policy changes with, sometimes Amazon does this. There's third-party changes with Amazon, but I didn't get any emails from Feedback Quiz today. But basically, when Amazon like limits the data to third parties, the third party app or extension you're using will typically let you know. For example, before they used to let you communicate through third party softwares like email services like Feedback Quiz to anyone who left a negative review, and you would be able to message that customer and like solve the situation and hopefully get that review taken down. Even though that's against terms of service, now they've clarified that more. And before, they used to let Feedback Quiz and other third party have access to customer data such as names and emails. But recently, in the last like 2 to 3 months, Amazon took that away. So now third party softwares don't have access to the data, but we as sellers do. So I'm not sure if there was any changes made with that. If there are, I'll probably like make a thing on it, a video or a story, but I have not heard anything yet. Okay. For number of sellers, how many max do I like to compete against? Again, like I mentioned before, I don't really pay attention to the sellers, because the people, like overall in the market, the people you're really competing on are the ones on the first page, which is usually like the top 10 people, and those are the ones you want to pay attention to and find gaps within that first page, because the main thing is you're only going to really get sales if you're on the first page for those important words. Will there be a Black Friday holiday special on your course? I am not determining any specials for those occasions, but for you who is watching my live, I do have the 24-hour code, which is if you put in $300 off at the checkout, you will get $300 off the course, which is a really great discount in the next 24 hours. So by 8 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, on the 25th, it will go back to, well, it is to normal, actually. Everyone else has to do the normal price, but you will get $300 off because you're at this live and you're hearing it here. I'm not making a public announcement anywhere except for this live, so just anyone who heard this announcement on here. The code is active and it will be deactivated tomorrow at 8 PST. How do you do A/B split testing? Hassan, I literally have a playlist about this on my YouTube channel with a lot of videos. There's two softwares I like to use, PickFu and the Listing Dojo. They're all for different reasons. The Listing Dojo gives you customer feedback, so it's actual customer sales and data on that. And then the PickFu is more kind of opinion generated responses. And if you use those, it's a poll. It will give you answers within an hour. Listing Dojo, it's more like a long-term test of comparing your everyday sales. But I do both. I use both. Watch my videos, and if you use PickFu, if you use the code Karina50, you'll get 50% off your first poll, which is great. Karina, where do I find designers for your packaging or product design? Right now, I have full-time graphic artists that work for me. So I have a few of them, like 3. So they design my packaging and I give them modifications, but obviously that's not necessary. So you can just go on Fiverr and you can request maybe 3 people, pay them like $15 to do a package design. Be very, very specific on what you want. Never leave it up to them to do the package design. Like, that's so important, because you study the market, you know what the customer wants, so you know what to phrase it, you know what to emphasize on the package, you know the colors. Give them a doc, type it out, what you want the front to say, what you want the back to say, the sides, everything. Don't let them decide. Just really heavily guide them through it and make sure the package design doesn't look cheesy or weird or like low end. You just have to really, if you're doing a package design, do it correctly, do it high end, make it look professional and actually like an important brand. I've seen some horrible packaging designs, and the reason I say ask several designers is because I work with some off of Fiverr and they just send you the worst. It literally looks like they did it in Paint. You know, did anyone use Paint before? That app in Microsoft, it's just some are so bad. So you don't ever use a bad design. Okay. What's a good way to differentiate a product? I have a video going into detail about differentiation, but bundling is a great idea. Yes, if you're, again, like I mentioned before, if you're using bundles that are proven by Amazon's algorithm, and if you're not doing an expensive bundle that's going to confuse the customer of what they're actually buying. Do I have a video of sourcing products? I do. In China, I have go to the supplier playlist and I talk about how to find the good suppliers, how to source products. Basically every topic on Amazon FBA, I have a playlist on it. Go check it out. Oh, interesting, Tessa. Okay, so Tessa, I'll check in on that and let you know. Yeah, if there's any changes, I'll reach out and ask and see what mine are saying. I haven't heard anything yet, but I'll check into that. Huh. Okay, I'll check that out, Tessa. That's an interesting point. How do you best optimize on the listing? Too many ways. There's so many ways. Again, you really need to split test. You have to optimize your listing for both Amazon's algorithm and also for the customer. So you study the market, so you know what's selling well, what's not selling well, and you want to put that in, and don't just keyword stuff. But at the same time, you want to have a keyword stuffed in there without looking like it's stuffed with keywords, so Amazon ranks you for those words. So you have to find a very nice way of writing out all the benefits of your product and highlighting all the important features, as well as putting in as many possible keywords as possible. So that's that. I'm gonna end the stream here. I've been on for exactly almost an hour, so it was fun chatting with all of you on this wonderful Sunday night, 8:03 p.m. Okay, yeah, that's it. And like I mentioned, there's a sheet for you for how to validate products in this video. If you haven't gotten it, it's a guide. Go get this, go get it downloaded. It's gonna help you with your product research. I have another product research parameter sheet that you can download in my last live. I'm just trying to put out as many of these as possible. And if you are interested in the program, if you're not one of my students, I know I had a few students show up in this stream, so hello. But if you're not in it yet, you do have the $300 off until tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just put in 300 off, 300 OFF into the checkout, and you will get $300 off. Yeah, thanks screen to remind to like and subscribe. Yes, Douglas, like and subscribe. And thank you for answering all questions. Hope you do this more often. Yes, I will do it more often. I love talking to you people more and like answering this one-on-one and actually being live. It's a lot of fun. Great. Thank you guys. Loved hanging out with you. I will see you next time I'm on. And of course, I have a video tomorrow. I have it. If it's not a stream, there's always going to be a daily upload. So either way, if you have any questions, you can email me at karina@intoamilli.com or comment at the end of this video or just on my Instagram. I'm available on all platforms. So I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your Sunday.